Hello, everyone. Welcome to Automation in Customer Support. Do humans always need human help? My name is Jay Hinman. I lead marketing at DigitalGenius, and I'm moderating today's webinar, which is scheduled to go for 45 minutes today. And it's going to be a discussion on how AI-powered automation are presenting customer service leaders, people such as yourselves on the call, with a range of innovative options about how best to optimize their customer support function. So our guests today are Mikhail Naumov, co-founder and president of DigitalGenius, and Edmund Ovington, the VP of Global Alliances at Unbabel. Both will be looking at next-generation automation in the contact center and discuss how it's transforming the customer experience and helping human agents focus on the complex thinking that their human brains were built for. So we'll happily be taking your questions as well at the end. Just type into the Q&A tab on the Zoom software that you're using to attend this webinar. And please let us know whom it's addressed to, Unbabel or DigitalGenius or both. That helps us answer the question. Also, at the end of this session, you'll be receiving the video of this to your email as an on-demand webinar that you're free to watch at any time. So here's the brief agenda for today. So first, Mikhail Naumov from DigitalGenius will provide an overview of his company's AI platform for customer service. Edmund Ovington from Unbabel will then provide you with an overview of his company's multilingual customer communication platform. We'll then move on to some topics of discussion with questions for both of our panelists. And finally, we'll move on to your questions before wrapping up. So let me turn it over to Mikhail Naumov, co-founder and president of DigitalGenius, to tell you a little bit more about how his company is connecting customer conversations with the back-end processes used to resolve them.
Excellent. Thank you, Jay. Appreciate the introduction. This is Mikhail from DigitalGenius. Our thesis is that it's 2018 and customer service has become the proven competitive advantage. It's very difficult for companies to compete on product or price. Therefore, the way that you serve your customers is becoming something that is helping you define your competitive advantage in your industry. And what this means is that we have to be thinking about two things. We have to find ways to remove unnecessary costs from your contact center operation while improving the customer experience. And it used to be that you had to choose one and sacrifice the other. For example, if you want to improve your customer experience, it usually meant you have to invest more money, or if you wanted to remove costs and save money, your customer experience would suffer. Our view is that machine learning is becoming the equalizer that allows you to achieve both. Removing unnecessary costs from your contact center while improving customer experience and satisfaction. And I'm going to share with you how. So the process and the framework that's powering our products here at DigitalGenius is called conversational process automation. And for those of you on the line that are familiar with a term called RPA, robotic process automation, you'll know that it's been around for a while, but it has a very significant shortcoming and a significant limitation, which is that RPA rarely understands conversations. And so that's a huge limit when it comes to customer service, because conversations have become one of the top ways, if not the #1 way, through which customers can interact with your company and your brand. So that understanding conversations using machine learning and connecting them to back-end processes to execute actions is actually going to be the future. And so to show you how that works in practice, let's look at a real example. Customer will come to you and will ask a question, let's say a refund. The AI model will understand that conversation because it has been trained on historical customer service logs, including emails and chat transcripts. What it does is basically converts all the language into mathematical representations of language called word vectors and uses those word vectors to train machine learning models. Once the model is trained, this all happens automatically in the cloud. The system can understand incoming queries from your customers. Once it does that, it has to check a back-end system to see whether this customer is actually eligible for a refund or not. If they are eligible, the system will automatically perform a refund action in a back-end system that your company might use, for example, Shopify, and will also update the customer CRM record to reflect that they have been issued a refund on such and such date for a certain amount. And only then does the system automatically reply to the customer with an answer. And so the customer gets a fast, accurate answer that's not just a deflection of a question, but an actual full resolution of the issue that they were having, which is basically the next generation of AI in contact centers, not just deflecting questions through chatbots or FAQ articles, but resolving customer service queries end to end. And the interesting thing is that customer satisfaction is rising as a result of this. You know, customers are seeing these refunds issued momentarily and are writing back in to say that they've been surprised and they were pleased with this type of outcome. And so for those folks out there that are thinking about how does automation impact customer satisfaction and the perception of, let's say, a robotic answer, we believe that the answer is customer wants answers and resolutions quickly and accurately, and they're happy to receive it from whether it's a human or a machine answer. As long as it's the right answer, they'll be happier. And these feedback comments show exactly that. Now, what we did is we took the conversational process automation framework and we put it into both of our product offerings. The first one is called Autopilot, which uses AI to understand conversations and then executes back-end processes. The result of this, as you just saw before, is automated case resolution for some of your most expensive and most repetitive customer service topics, such as refunds, subscription upgrades, cancellations, order status checks, and so on. The second offering is called Copilot, where AI understands the conversation, but then assists agents. And it does so in several ways. It first automatically pre-fills all the metadata required for a particular case so that your human agents no longer have to spend their time tagging tickets and routing them to the right team and filling out drop-down menus when a new ticket comes in. All of that happens automatically. And of course, recommending AI answers to agents in real time with a confidence score that lets them choose whether they want to approve the AI suggestion or personalize it before sending it back out. And that's an agent assist functionality that helps customer support teams be more effective and efficient on the job. And here are some of the feedback from our customers. A company called KLM, Royal Dutch Airlines, has reduced their processing time for customer support cases by 50%. And today is handling double the volume of messages that they were handling just a year ago with a similar agent headcount. A company called Magoosh is auto-resolving. This is full case resolution, 10% of their total case volume after just 1 week of DigitalGenius Autopilot, while DigitalGenius Copilot has been cutting their queue time in half. And finally, Travelbird, a company in Europe, has made their contact center profitable because they implemented DigitalGenius Copilot to reduce average handling time by 30%, and then chose to use that recovered time to teach some of their best agents to do upselling and cross-selling of travel products, now turning their contact center operation profitable, which is amazing because a contact center historically has been a cost center in a business, and today, more and more, it's becoming a source of competitive advantage for companies and even top-line revenue, as you see here. So that wraps up my piece, my introduction to DigitalGenius. I'd love to pass it back over to Edmund for his overview of Unbabel.
Thank you, Mikhail.
There you are, Edmund.
Sorry about that. I was stuck on mute, guys. I apologize. Thank you so much for the invite. Lovely to be here today. A little bit like DigitalGenius, we at Unbabel believe that customer service is a huge and somewhat untapped opportunity for companies. We believe in a vision where language actually is potentially not an inhibitor of customer experience. And we like to imagine a world where we remove language as a barrier to the customer experiences that you want to deliver to your clients. Why do we believe this is important? Well, we're seeing huge amounts of evidence that actually when you deliver clients an experience in their native language, there is a direct impact on revenue, as well as the obvious customer retention and CSAT. The problem is this isn't solved right now, mainly because the solutions in the market are either the machine translation that we're all used to, and obviously can have a detrimental impact to your brand or to CSAT, or human-only solutions, which sadly are just not scalable when you think about the growing mountains of conversations and content in the world these days. Unbabel has spent the last 5 years building a solution which combines customer specific artificial intelligence with a gig economy of over 100,000 people who provide the human nuance, delivering all of this within the SLAs that your clients need. And actually what we're seeing is that this is creating a new operating model for customer service in the world. Some of the outputs we're seeing with our clients is that this can allow you to put your customers first, completely regardless of the language they speak. Always deal with them in their preferred native tongue. Deal seamlessly with peaks, with incident spikes, and actually allow silly issues like scheduling and frustrations around people being on holiday or sick when it comes to native speakers becoming completely irrelevant. More recently, as we've grown and delivered Unbabel to larger numbers of agents across enterprise companies, we're also seeing that actually solutions like Unbabel unlock strategic advantages within global customer service operations. Really, for the first time, you're able to put your contact center in the perfect location where there's the best blend of humans who speak written English very well, or write written English very well, with the lowest cost that makes sense to you as a business. And suddenly, the flexibility that you're unlocking allows you to do all of the other automation initiatives and reinvest the cost savings where you want it to. We deliver all of this across all of your non-voice channels, whether that's tickets, social, email, whether that's more synchronous environments like live chat and messaging, and also, of course, your knowledge bases, FAQs, and canned responses you're using in the automation itself. We embed seamlessly in your favorite platforms, whether that's a Zendesk, a Salesforce Service Cloud, a Freshdesk, a Microsoft Dynamics. The really important part is that we don't impact the average handling time of the agent. We have zero impact to their workflow and add no friction to the process. If, of course, you don't use one of these platforms, you have something like a proprietary system, you can use our very clean, very friendly API to plug straight in with the same experience. We're also really lucky to have spent the last 5 years working with some of the most customer-centric and really digitally innovative companies in the world. The likes of Oculus, Pinterest, Skyscanner have really helped us shape a solution that unlocks doors and really allows companies to think about customer experience in a whole new way. With that, I'll hand back to Mikhail and say thank you.
Thank you, Edmund.
All right, terrific overview, Mikhail. Terrific overview, Edmund. Thank you very much for that. So let's move on to some discussion. I'm going to ask the first questions, and then we're going to move on to questions from the audience. So if you have a question for Mikhail from Digital Genius and Edmund from Unbabel, please click on the Q&A tab in the Zoom software that you're using and ask away. And if you could just address it to whom you want to ask the question, or if it's for both, that's fine as well. We definitely have saved time at the end for your question. So I will get started. So for both of you, my first question is, as AI takes over more of these repetitive contact center tasks, what will be the future of customer service employees?
Excellent. Edmund, with your permission, I'd like to take a first pass at this one. So, thank you. So machine learning is quickly becoming a must-have tool inside the contact center, and it's being driven from both directions, from top down with business leaders, from the CEO on downward, basically putting out a mandate for implementations of AI. And the contact center is becoming one of the low-hanging fruits where you can actually apply AI in a practical way to deliver results and satisfy your leadership's goals and AI mandate. And so there's a lot of top-down pressure on contact center and customer experience leaders to implement AI tools today. There's also a bottoms-up motion coming from the customer service agents. And over the last 4.5 years, I've sat down with hundreds of agents, watching how they do their work, speaking with them about what parts of their work they find the most engaging and which part of their work they prefer not to do and is actually a source of pain for them and one of the reasons why they leave their job. And so what it turns out is that machine learning is tackling the things that are most repetitive and frustrating for the human agents to be handling on a daily basis. And therefore, as these agents find out about tools like Digital Genius and like Unbabel, they actually petition their leadership for tools like that. And so I think in the future, AI in the contact center will be similar to having a calculator in an accounting firm where you'd never expect an accountant to do your taxes without having a calculator or the right set of tools. Very much in the contact center agents will not take a job inside of a company which has not invested in the right set of tools. And that's what we've been seeing, so far. And I think it's only going to accelerate from here. So the role of the contact center agent in a post-AI world is going to be to manage those AI systems effectively so they could deliver a superior level of customer service to the end customers. Edmund, what do you think about that?
Yeah, I think that's a really nice vision. I also often think about the fact that, we're never going to escape the either very emotional or very complex issues where humans will just be incredibly important. I think we've all had one of those very human moments where a customer service representative can completely change your opinion. You can go from very angry to an evangelist within a few minutes, purely because of the human experience you had. So I like to kind of compartmentalize those instances away from the very, very large swathes of queries that are just dying to be automated. And I think, all of us will be a lot happier when companies manage to remove the friction and remove the human interaction from things that just need to happen on a day-to-day basis. Business as usual is the way I think about it. Back to you, Joe.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Terrific. Well, so Edmund, I have a question for you, kind of looking at the differences between B2B and B2C in a customer support environment. Can you comment on the importance of nuance when thinking about automation with different audiences? For example, the difference between B2B and B2C.
Yeah, I think we're seeing more and more of our customers, some of them who actually operate in both of those markets, having to be very agile in how they think about the nuance of automation. One example I use is companies like Bang & Olufsen. So Bang & Olufsen, traditionally a high-end luxury brand. Honestly, everyone who buys a Bang & Olufsen, if you're spending $10,000 on a TV, you're probably going to walk in and talk to the manager and complain in person. That's kind of, or you've got his mobile number. And that's the experience you expect. But then a few years ago, they released a new kind of diversification of their product range called B&O Play. Basically, a Sennheiser or a Bose competitive headphone market product range, and there it's a much younger demographic, much more used to automation, and so they really had to segment the way they think about their audiences in the same way that clients of ours like Microsoft have to segment the different ways they think about their B2B, high touch, high expectation, high complexity clients who really often need to talk through a problem for half an hour to an hour on the phone with their freemium Outlook.com or Office 365 consumer users, where they've just got literally hundreds of millions of customers out there with very standardized questions. And they need to be, incredibly agile about how they think about automation within their very nuanced pockets of customers. And I think the more nuance they apply, the more successful they are in general.
I agree with that, Edmund. I also want to add that basically, a contact center operation doesn't have an endless source of resources to staff up and to continue hiring agents. So we must be looking for ways to unlock time and create opportunity for these nuanced, personalized conversations to be happening when they need to happen. And our view is that you can achieve this by first tackling some of the very repetitive tier one questions, like the examples I showed earlier, for example, refund requests, where nuance is something that is much more of an issue that comes after, right? So if you can take care of all the tier one easy questions, then you have more time for your agents to engage in nuanced discussions with the customer. So I definitely agree with what you've said, and I think we need to create more time and more opportunity for our contact center team to be more specific, more nuanced, more personalized.
Terrific. Thanks, guys. So next question is, both of you are, I'm sure, very familiar with a lot of the hype in the AI space today. In fact, maybe you've even participated in some of it. So what do you think about this hype in the AI space, and how can you separate out reality from all the noise that's going on?
Yeah, that's a good one. So we're obviously, it's 2018 now, and last year and even a little bit of the year before, AI has been going through a very significant hype cycle. And for those of you that are joined on this webinar live, I wouldn't be surprised if your inbox is completely full of emails from .ai companies that are competing for your business or trying to get 15 minutes of your time on the phone. And so that's very common in a market that's young and early. And so it's still day one for AI applications. Now, with that said, finally, we're seeing some really practical applications of AI in various areas of business, the contact center being one of the lowest hanging fruit, a place where you can actually use AI today to make a difference and create a very meaningful ROI, and specifically because the contact center is sitting on a ton of historical customer service logs, whether it's email transcripts from past interactions or chat logs. That data is so powerful if you can use it to train a machine learning algorithm to then automate the repetitive parts of the customer support process moving forward. This is the reason why the contact center is becoming one of the first areas of the business that you're actually going to be able to see results from AI. And the second is, customer expectations are not getting any lower. In fact, they're increasing every single day, every week, and every month. Customers want to talk to you on new channels like Facebook Messenger and WhatsApp and others. They want you to be available in multiple languages. And Edmund, I know you have a lot to say about that. So basically, it's this combination of pressures again that's creating the noise, but it's also creating opportunity for business leaders to implement AI in a practical way.
Yeah, I really like what you said. Yeah, I like what you said, Mikhail, about the increasing rate of change of expectations of the consumer. I think that's potentially the scariest part for companies, whether they're AI companies or large brands, is consumers move faster than you can imagine, and actually the younger generations move even faster than ever before, and keeping up with that is hard. However, I do like to comment that we tend to hype up hype. We tend to create some sort of AI hype inception by talking about the hype around AI almost more than we talk about AI itself. And so, when you boil it down, are we on a path to do things less repetitively? Yes. And more scalably? Yes. Will this free up more creativity and innovation? Yes. And is that generally a very good thing? I think so. And I think the pressure on companies like Mikhail's and mine is that we stop talking about AI so much and start talking about the practical impacts of it in a slightly more straightforward way, and really explain the benefits and the business outcomes a little bit better. So yeah, I think hype is hard, and people are a little bit bored of hearing about AI all the time. And I think the more we pivot towards practical things, and actually within the realm of MarTech and all the buzz there, I think actually customer service is a really lovely area to focus, because every organization, is either very aware of or becoming aware of the importance of their customers' happiness, not just acquiring new customers.
Absolutely. Edmund, I love what you said about not talking about AI for AI's sake. And I completely agree that it's so important to focus on the problem that we're solving, which machine learning happens to be the best technology to use to solve that problem, rather than build unnecessary excitement about yet another buzzword. So totally on the same page. I'm glad you said that.
Yeah, and in this discussion of practical AI, I think, thank you, Edmund. I mean, I want to address this next question to you because you brought that up. And what industries right now are ahead of the curve for savvy automation and customer experience? And what are some of the good examples that we can look to?
Yeah, we're incredibly lucky. We, as I mentioned, tend to work with the more naturally digitally centric organizations, whether they're travel, retail, tech, either enterprise or fast growing. But actually, I've personally loved getting to know the gaming industry in the last few months. We're working with some of the key organizations there, and I'm loving their approach. It's so customer centric. It's also so data driven. And I think part of that is a result of how fickle those customers are. That, gaming customers will jump to a new game in minutes if you don't deliver them the right service or they don't get what they need. And on the other end of the spectrum, if you give them the right experience, the in-app spend we're seeing from the likes of Fortnite customers, or the traditional successful games, Candy Crush and Angry Birds, etc., is astronomical. And I think it's a real microcosm of excitement now, because what I'm seeing is that they're braver, they're more data-driven, and they're a little bit ahead of the curve in terms of how they think about their customers. And maybe that's because their customers are quite straightforward to profile and measure, but really enjoying that. And I think certainly they're a bit of a beacon in our customer base right now in terms of what I'm seeing. What about you guys at Digital Genius?
That's awesome. I love the Fortnite and Candy Crush examples, and I agree with you. We're seeing a lot of activity in the travel and hospitality space, the retail and e-commerce, technology. On-demand platforms have been kind of on fire, you know, whether it's walking your dog on demand or whatever it is. And of course, gaming is an active space for us that we're looking at as well. But I think in terms of which industries can benefit from machine learning the fastest are ones that have some specific parameters. You know, companies that have a contact center where they have a high volume of repetitive customer service queries, and whether those queries can be solved by a simple answer or an agent has to manually check a back-end system to perform an action. Those are still areas where a machine learning system can either automate parts of with Copilot or completely automate those cases to full resolution as with Autopilot. And so I think for us, it's definitely a lot more about the volume of your tickets, the amount of historical customer service training data that you have, for example, number of email transcripts you have, and how much value your company could get from automating, you know, a good portion of those tickets.
Right. I mean, it's not just going to impact your customers and your employees, but how do you see automation impacting your insourcing, your outsourcing, your vendor strategy?
Oh, Edmund, this one's for you. You know, with the gig economy and everything. So what do you think about outsourcing and how AI is affecting things like that?
Yeah, I think it's actually incredibly exciting. We work very closely with some of the larger outsourcers or outsourcing partners to these brands. And you know, you may know that it's a very M&A driven market right now. A lot's going on, and actually, what I'm seeing is a lot of that activity is based on the technology savvy within the players, and I think that's coming back from client demands. I think clients are demanding more of their outsourcers. I think they're saying that you've got to stop talking about AI and you've got to start embedding it in the DNA of what you deliver to us. It's got to be one of the fundamental pillars of the service you offer. It can't just be a shiny thing you add on top. I think that's becoming exciting because now when a client is thinking about what they do, whether they build an in-house multilingual hub, whether they, you know, do regional consolidation, whether they just move to one or two vendors, if you're a large company, the options stop, for us anyway, as our client base, stop having the axis of language as an impeding factor. They stop having to decide where those people are in the world and where you can actually find people who speak that language, which is opening up a lot of freedom, opening up a lot of options, and allowing maybe organizations to do some of the strategic things they've wanted to for a long time. And personally, we're seeing that this is a real area of traction, is when we sort of create the holy trinity of an AI company like Unbabel partnering with a great forward-thinking brand who wants to do exciting things, and a truly innovative BPO partner, the likes of Convergys we work very closely with, where they are all parties are driven towards the two things that Mikhail rightly started with, which is both lowering costs and improving the customer experience, and not just talking about AI as a pilot, for an example.
Great. And so, I mean, maybe the same question about automation impacting channel strategy. How do you see that impacting channel strategy? That's for you, Edmund.
Sorry, I went on mute for some reason. So with channel strategy, we're seeing again the notion of freedom. So we're seeing that, you know, companies were already on a move towards non-voice. You know, I think all of us are increasingly finding that when there's not complexity or when I'm not emotional, I actually don't really want to talk to a human. I just want to get something done. And so I think that trend is continuing, and I think it will continue towards non-voice channels. I think everyone has their preference from an asynchronous to a synchronous experience, whether it's a ticket that you send and then kind of wait for the response, whenever it comes, and that's okay. Or some demographics and clients are now much more demanding of a synchronous experience where it's a real-time conversation, which is absolutely great. I think what AI does is just provides freedom to move those strategies, test, experiment faster. I mean, I think before everyone was very constrained to, we've only got 20 Italian-speaking agents in this country. Actually their spoken Italian is great, but their written Italian is not, et cetera, as an example. And those, when we allow those issues to be evaporated, those obstacles to just be removed, companies can move their channels in the way that they want to, based on the data they're getting of where their customers are happiest, what channels their customers want, and all of the things, we all know that companies need to think about.
Terrific. All right, well, thank you. So we got some very good questions from the audience, so I think we're going to move into those. So the first question is from Suzanne, who asked, this is obviously for Mikhail, does DigitalGenius also have an API for integration with back-end systems, such as SAP CRM?
Oh yeah, good question. So basically DigitalGenius already has off-the-shelf integrations with some of the most common customer support platforms and consoles. We do also have an API that can integrate with both homegrown systems as well as systems we may not have pre-built an application for. So if that's the situation that you have today, do reach out to us. We'd love to talk to you about that.
All right, great, thank you. This is for both of you. So this is from Alexander. She says, hi there, I hope I haven't missed it, but I was wondering if Unbabel is integrated with DigitalGenius, as in providing a hybrid of AI, CX, and language support.
Oh, nice. Let me take a first one at it, and Edmund, please feel free to add to this. So Unbabel has been a fantastic partner to us for quite some time. They're a leader in the customer service space, and I just love how they combine machine learning with the gig economy to deliver superior customer experience in multiple languages. And I think the idea of using Unbabel to deliver that, and using DigitalGenius to rapidly optimize the speed and the experience of those conversations is just a winning combination. And so we do have some mutual customers today, but the beautiful thing is we don't necessarily need to integrate with each other as long as we are both integrated to your customer service system. So for example, if you're already using Zendesk, Salesforce Service Cloud, or another one of these popular customer service agent consoles, both of our companies have integrations with those, and therefore both of our companies can be used and our products can be used by your team to help. Edmund, did I cover that, or what do you think?
Beautifully put. Thank you very much. Nothing to add.
Okay, great. All right, well, Jerome's asked a couple questions, so I'm going to take them in order. He first asked, can we have a word about the cost of the human takeover when AI flow doesn't work as expected?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so basically what I think this question means is, let's say a customer reaches out and the AI starts responding or interacting with the customer, and at some point the AI is no longer confident in its answers, and it has to escalate the discussion or the dialogue to a human customer support rep. And the question from Jerome was, what is the cost of that? And I think the cost of that is, first of all, you can do some forecasting to figure out, what percentage of customer service conversations first get picked up by an AI, and then the AI is not able to handle it all the way through, and therefore escalates it to a human agent. So there's some forecasting modeling that you could do. But to keep it even easier, as long as you have a team of customer support agents that are handling tickets as they normally would without AI, they would be on hand to pick up those dialogues at the moment that the AI passes them over and escalates them. Now, the good thing about it is most customer service conversations which require multiple turns of the dialogue, so multiple questions, multiple answers to happen in progression in order for the issue to be solved, the AI can take care of the first 2, 3, 4 questions so that by the time a human rep picks it up, they don't have to waste time asking those little questions that they need to help. For example, a customer comes for a flight upgrade, a seat upgrade on an airplane. Well, before you could do anything, you need to find out what flight they're on. You want to find out what status they are with the frequent flyer program. And so if an AI can knock a bunch of those out of the way, and even if it escalates to a human rep, now the rep has all the information they need to perform the action required. And so I think it's a beautiful thing when AI and humans can work together to provide a seamless experience. And that's what we're seeing today with our Copilot product. Edmund, do you have anything to add about sort of the escalation costs of AI going to a human?
Yeah, I'll just answer it through the lens of Unbabel very selfishly. So when I think about our AI plus human pipeline and the way we blend the two elements to get the right balance, I think what our customers enjoy is that the onus is on us. So the onus is on Unbabel to find, taking into account all of the outside impacts, whether that's the type of content or the complexity of the sentence or the length of the communication, finding the right balance of how much work we can do with AI and then what, if any, needs to go to human and which human we send that to, and how quickly and how available are they, and what turnaround time we need. And I think what we've done is we've managed to bake that into a solution where the customer stops caring. So the customer doesn't have to worry about that anymore, and they just get a great, reliable solution with human quality turnarounds for training, without having to think about the blend of AI and humans from the Unbabel service. And I think this is a nice example of where, when you can sort of remove the complexity of AI and remove people from worrying about how much AI is being used, etc., it starts to having an exponentially higher impact, because as soon as it becomes just part of the workflow, and I'm actually going to skip to Susan's question a little bit later, which is about the role of AI and the role of the network of people. Once you kind of bundle those up and deliver it in a way almost like electricity in the back of a kitchen or water, so that it's just an enabler of outcomes and an enabler of amazing customer experiences, rather than actually a kind of a piece of technology that people fixate on, then you're really winning, and then you're really making advances and wholesale changes to your organization.
Great, thank you. So Jerome's second question is a good one too, kind of keying off of this. So what's the right way to implement machine learning and automation in companies where data quality is relatively poor? Like, how do you manage the issues due to bad data?
So data is really important when it comes to training a machine learning algorithm, but the question is, how much data is enough? And so, and do I have enough data, and is the data good enough? I think one of the advantages of a machine learning system is that it's not as binary as a scripted chatbot or some pre-programmed expert system, where if you got it wrong the first time, then you're going to be suffering the consequences of that for all time to come. Machine learning has basically a self-learning mechanism built in. It's called continuous learning, where the model is progressively getting stronger as it's used more and more. And so we see this in our Copilot product as the AI is recommending answers to customer service agents for approval or personalization. Each of those actions that a human agent takes related to that recommendation then sends a signal back to the model so that it can continue learning whether it made a good decision or not when it recommended a particular answer. So AI, more than anything else out there in terms of technology, it has the ability to self-correct over time. And so even if the data at the beginning is not as rich or not as robust as you might hope, the system will get stronger as more of your reps are using it, and as it goes through the continuous learning process. What do you think, Edmund, about sort of the quality of data?
Yeah, the only nuance I'd add to that answer is that I think what we find is when we think about different content types, we're seeing the quantity and the quality of data is even more important. I'll be more specific. So with email translations, for example, given the length and complexity generally of an email, we almost always send it through a human. So we send it through, we have a human just check it, just polish it, because we know that that's important at this point in time, given where the machine translation quality is. However, for real-time communications, for chat, we need to rely more on the machine translation. And then with that, we do have to take a significant amount of data, and we do have to train it and the systems in advance. And actually, we're investing a lot as a company into the teams that are becoming incredibly proficient at taking that data, whatever quality it's in, refining it, making it good quality if it's not currently, and then training the models. And I think I think actually my advice would be, if you're looking for an AI partner, ask them about those processes, ask them about the way that they handle data, the way that they absorb data, what they do with it in preparation, because I think that will tell you a lot about how serious they are about AI or whether they're just talking about AI.
Yeah. All right, we have time for one last question, although we got a lot of great questions today, and we'll try to answer some of them in the chat widget here afterward. This is from Ian, and it's a good macro question, I think, to end on. So what are some of the major adoption challenges to AI right now that you're seeing?
Yeah. So on our side, there's a couple things that we've experienced out there in the market inside contact centers. The first is the obvious one, which is human agents' perception of the AI tool in their workflow. So initially, when you introduce AI to your team, you have to be very specific around what it does, what it doesn't do, and why it's there. Because this was more of an issue last year, as AI was still a really, really new thing, whereas today it's kind of almost expected. But a year ago, I remember launching the technology into a team of contact center agents, a few hundred people. And one of the first questions was, is this going to take over my job? Am I like, what's going to happen to my job? And so that you can work through that very quickly, because realistically what ends up happening is that the tool is there to assist and it's there to help. And inevitably the agents, after trying it out for even a few hours, they recognize the value. It's like using a calculator. You no longer have to spend so much time, doing math on a piece of paper. You can actually use tools to help you be better at your job. And we've actually seen agent retention rates increase as a result of using Digital Genius. And as well as new agent training being accelerated, because Digital Genius recommends the correct answers to new agents when they're just starting out. And so there's a lot of benefits around that initial adoption challenge. What do you think, Edmund? Any adoption challenges on AI for you guys?
Yeah, I think that was really nicely put. I think for us, what's interesting is that, I spend a lot of my time talking about this belief barrier, partly because of the hype, partly because the status quo has been in place so long with humans doing the work, and, contact centers, and whether they're insourced or outsourced teams. The idea that AI can really have an impact and can make an agent better and happier, which is also important, is actually kind of hard to get your head around. And so what we're finding is that we're relying on our amazing implementation and customer success teams. We're doing a lot of in-person training. We're doing a lot of sort of holding the hands of the agents wherever they are. They might be in Europe, or they might be in India or the Philippines. And what we're seeing is there is a real transformation from when you spend time with them, when you take them through, when you show them the power of these tools and how it can improve them and turn them essentially into a super agent. They get so excited. And what you find is that you have the on-the-ground evangelists as the biggest proponents of AI themselves, because they know they can do more. They know that their career can go further. They know that they can make their customers happier in a shorter time period. And I think that really is the beauty of AI, is that impact it can have not just on the customer, but on the humans who are doing the work, and how it can make them even better than they already are.
Wonderful. Well, with that, we are going to wrap up. I just want to remind everybody that our email addresses are all listed here. So there were some other good questions that we weren't able to get to, so we'll try to answer them here in the chat. But if we somehow don't get to it, or you've logged out, please send it directly to Edmund at unbabel.com, Mikhail at digitalgenius.com. Both companies will also be at Dreamforce in September in San Francisco, and at Zendesk Relay also in San Francisco in November. And you can meet us there. Please email us directly if you'd like to talk, come by our booths, etc. So with that, thank you to our panelists today and everyone who attended, and we will see you next time. Thank you.